Streets are uneven when you're down.
Hi, welcome back to 12 Foot Chain, everybody. This week we're going to talk about People Are Strange, this great song from The Doors, from their second album. And, Robby Krieger, the guitar player and co-writer of so many of The Doors hits, I think Robby goes overlooked a lot when you talk about sort of like the great classic rock players of the day. And I think part of that is because the roadmap sort of wasn't written yet, and I feel like he was helping blaze the trail, but he was just doing it in different ways than like what we all sort of landed on with Clapton and Beck and Page and and then all the great American players that came in the late 60s and 70s, all playing their Gibsons in Marshalls and all that. But Robby was different, but his parts were super tasty, and they completely were tailored to the songs in The Doors. And like I said, he wrote so many of them too. So we're going to spend some time on People Are Strange, and so we're going to talk about the main rhythm guitar part, the overdubs that go in there, and of course the guitar solo. So without further ado, let's get to business. So first of all, getting your tone, all right? So Robby had a Gibson SG, and actually his SG was, and I think for this record too, it was an SG Special. It had two P90 single coil P90 pickups. He hadn't moved on to the humbucker yet, which I think he got in '68. So this one has humbuckers, but this guitar also has split coil splitters on here, so I'm going to split the coils on my bridge and neck to try and get closer to the tone that Robby has on his Gibson SG. The main rhythm part is on the neck pickup, so I have my pickup selector right on here. My volume and tones are all up on this, and clean. You want clean for this. For the main rhythm part, it's, in fact, when you listen to it really closely, it actually sounds like it might be direct. It might be running direct into the board. It has that sound of being like ultra clean, not even running through an amplifier, just your cable running into the soundboard. If it wasn't that, then what you want to do on your amp is you want to boost the trebles up, sort of minimize the bass a little bit, maximize or get the trebles up, and you want to highlight the sort of upper mid frequencies. If you have an EQ pedal, you can do that, but you want it nice and clean. And the last thing I think I hear on there's some studio, very, 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 very tight echo. It might be just room echo. So I've got a delay on mine to try and replicate that a bit. Okay, so let's get to the first part. So the intro. Here's how that goes. It's all based off of E minor. In fact, I think all the chords in the song are E minor, A minor, B7, and G. That's it. So everything's on those four chords. All right, so the intro, it goes like this. So that's the first little part, okay? So you're just walking down from, on an E minor, starting from the B of the E minor. Just a slight little bend on the G. Don't go crazy with it. Not doing that. So that's just the first part of your E minor chord. Switching over to A minor. So that's a real interesting, it's a part of a B7, that last part. You know the B7 shape there. Well, the F sharp note is in that chord. You play it here when you play the full chord, but you can also play it low. So he just plays those first 3 notes. Beautiful, right? And then it just repeats again and does that again. Right? All right. So then when it picks up and the drums and the piano and organ kicks in, so now we're on to our B7. Now what he does throughout this song when he's doing his rhythm guitar parts, what he's not doing is playing the full chord. He's living on the last 3 strings. Maybe he hits the 4th string, right? So you're gonna play the part of those chords. So the first part is your B7. It's gonna go B7 to G. Right? So, and it's off of the first. We're gonna start in that first position B7 for the first verse. The rest of the time, he's going to actually play the part of the B7 up here, right? So, when you're string. And we'll talk about the overdub parts that come up. You obviously hear this. It goes over that. We'll talk about that in a bit. Same chords again. And then, when you're string. Right? So now the whole band's in and the groove is really starting to go. So now what he's doing is he's gonna move away from the first position, and that rhythm guitar is going to be based off of the this shape. So he's going to do the E minor shape at the 12th fret. And again, just off of those last 3 strings. Maybe you fret the 4th string. Maybe you hit it sometimes. Maybe you don't. A. Right? So still E minor, A minor. And then B7, I play again, we're only playing the last 3-4 strings of the B7. So the way you would fret that is like this. Right? You want to stay away from the low 6th and 5th string. So let's run through that again. And then he repeats it again. All right, and then it comes to the guitar solo. There actually is no rhythm guitar during the guitar solo. That's supporting it. It drops out. So the piano and the organ, drums are supporting it, and it opens it up and makes it nice and roomy for the solo to come in. We'll talk about the solo in just a minute. Okay, so now coming out of the solo, we're back to the B7 to G. So we're hitting those stabs again up here on 7th fret. Right, and now the overdub part is, we'll talk about the effect on that a little bit later, because it's a little bit different than this tone. But repeat. And then when you string. Then it goes into the keyboard solo. Awesome. Piano, jangly piano. So during that, the rhythm guitar, there is rhythm guitar that's helping to support that, and you're just playing what you did on the verses. All right, then coming out of the keyboard solo, we're going to go back to the B7 to G part, but this is now sort of overdub guitar number 2, and it's got more reverb on it, much like the other overdubs that we heard earlier, and much more reverb on that. So if you have the ability to switch on some reverb, for that, I'm using the Hall of Fame, the TC Electronic Hall of Fame, to add that little sparkle during those parts. So we're going to start with a B7 down at the first position, and so he comes in with this. So you're just picking parts, arpeggiating parts of the B7 chord. Just skipping over the second string. Part of a G. Now we're going to go back to B7, but we're going to come all the way up here to play it on the 7th fret. And what Robby does is a great little flourish. He starts by grabbing the high B note, and then he jumps all the way back to the low part, the low B, and just sort of arpeggiates the rest of that chord, that bar chord of the B7 back again. So it's something like something to that effect. He sort of plays around variations of when he uses that 7th. So sometimes it's he ends it. Sometimes he ends it. Now I've been playing it with a pick. It's probably even easier if you do it with your fingers. I can't sort of get the same pop that he does, but I suspect he might actually have done with his fingers, because it's that kind of a riff. Something to that effect. So starting off with that B7 section again. Second time he just picks those 3 notes. Last one he leaves the 7th off. Something to that effect. And that leads you to the big chord at the end. Now the big chord at the end is going to be using your whammy bar, and you're probably going to be out of tune after you do this on this guitar. But what you're going to do is you're going to take that B7th, you're going to pick all of those notes all the way across, give it a good wiggle with your hand, and you're going to take this bar, you're going to wiggle it and keep moving it up, because you're going to take the pitch. It's like you're taking the B7th, you're going to bring it up to around a C, right? But it's going to be using the bar, right? So your big chord at the end will go something like this. There you go. And if you had a second delay, because it has a different delay time on that echo, you could throw that on there, but that's more than I'm going to do here. But anyway, that's the part. Let's see if I'm still in tune. Sort of. Let's do it one more time. Like that. All right, so let's talk about those overdub parts quickly. So the way I think it was recorded is there was the rhythm track that we talked about, and then there's these overdubs that all seem to have similar tone, EQ, reverb settings. And so those parts are those little stabs, the solo, and that part at the end where you're doing the B7. So those all have and then the final big chord. So that's how I think it was laid out. But let's talk about the solo, or let's talk about those little stabs, right? And there's nothing super complicated about them. They're just based off of the B7th, right? So it's, the part of the song that you're at is when you're strange, people come out of the rain, right? It's just that. So it's you're sort of just hitting the 7th and of the B7th. So you're hitting the 2nd string on the 10th fret and you're bending up to the root. But remember, this song is called People Are Strange. So there's always an element of things being a little off, not quite right. So those little things that Robby's putting in there, he's not always hitting perfect pitch. He's always wanting to introduce the sort of weird feeling, right? So when you're doing these, you have your reverb on, if you can switch that on. For those little stabs, I still like the neck pickup for that, right? But you don't have to actually fully bend and hold the note. It's meant to be weird. And even if you're a single guitar player playing this song live, you're going to be doing something like this. And even if you're a single guitar player doing this live, you're going to be doing it something like, combining those two parts, right? But keep it a little weird, right? So that's the other stab. It does another one of those. After the guitar solo, those bends go the other way. You start up sort of at the root and you bend down to the 7th. So, right? So you're going to start at the same place. You're bending your note up. And you don't even have to get totally there exactly, right? People are strange. You want to have strange and weird feeling. Right? So you bring that down. The second time, it's the same thing, but you're going to yank your finger up there. Right? Mix those in however you want. It's all good, but keep it weird, is what I'm saying. Okay, let's talk about the guitar solo now. Guitar solo, I think, sounds best when you flip it down to your bridge pickup to cut through a little bit. And again, this goes with the whole weird, for me anyway, it sort of keeps it weird. Like Portland. So the chords that are happening behind the solo, I know the guitar, on the record anyway, isn't playing it. The piano's playing it, bass and piano and keyboards are playing. But if you had a rhythm guitar player live, the chords that you're playing are B7 and E minor. But you're doing it at a rhythm or a cadence that we haven't been doing yet in the song exactly. It goes more into a sort of a piece of a 12-bar blues. So B7, E minor, B7, E minor. So that's what's happening behind the solo. The solo's playing over that, just to orient, what you're going to be doing with your fingers. Okay, so the first chord is a B7 of what you're playing over. So what Robby's going to be doing is starting at that B, and he's going to be bending down to an A on the first string. So the first part of that solo is going to start all the way down here in sort of first position land within the first 5 frets. There's going to be a repeated sort of phrase, if you will, or a technique that's going to repeat throughout different parts of the solo, and it's this sort of a pull-off. He's sort of using the open strings because we're, E minor and B share all those open strings. So he's going to be building that into the solo of what he's doing. So here's the first part. You're going to start off bending down to an A. Right? All right, so that first flourish, you're bending down to your A. Slowing it down. If you were to pick those notes out, or, right? Again, keeping it weird. So that's the first part. Then he's got that, he ended on the B note, right? So grab that B note, open. So you're going to slide up to 12 from that open B. Grab the D note on the B string, and a very quick A note on the G string on 14. And we're going to get a big... So we're going to hit that G on the first string, right? So coming back to the bottom here. Okay. Avoid doing this. It's not a big bend. He hits that G note. It's a little thing, but if you want to sound like the record. So that's how it's just an E minor pentatonic back to the A. From that point, we're gonna run down to the first position again to finish out the solo. And if you listen to the isolated guitar of this, sounds like there's an overdub. There sounds like there's a second pass on the solo that happens, and there's an edit right there. So, and then if you listen real close, here I'll link where you can hear that. He comes down here, you can hear some second of activity or whatever, and then he finishes out the bottom part. But here is the bottom part. That's how it starts. So we're going to get back to that kind of first position that we were at. Bend it up. So there's that flourish again that we had in the very beginning. We're just starting it on the B string and ending it on the G. First time we were, and this time we are. But it's the same thing, same musical thing that he's trying to do. It's just starting on another string. Okay. And then it's going to go into that pretty fundamental E minor, E minor scale little lick at the bottom to end on that E, right? So coming out of that top part, right? So bend up. It's hard to do these piece by piece. Let me just do it all the way through. All right, there it all is. So slow that down. Use your YouTube controls to slow it down if you need to. But that's the guitar solo. All right, well, that was People Are Strange by The Doors. Such a great little tune. Chords aren't that complicated, really. but you know, like the way Robby plays them is just great, and he doesn't hide behind a whole lot of crazy distortion, and you know, it's pretty naked out there. So it's kind of, you know, whenever I'm trying to play this, because of that, I really want to try and get it right, because there's not much there. It's just this sort of naked guitar. You're out there, and anything you flub or miss, it's going to be super obvious. But hope you learned something new there. It was great listening to the isolated tracks to really understand a couple of the nuances that I didn't always know. But hopefully we've captured them here for you. So if you like what you saw, click like. It lets YouTube know to show you more cool stuff like this and less stuff that you don't like. And if you haven't already, click subscribe. Please do click subscribe and ring that bell. When you ring the bell, it gives you an alert every time that I drop the next lesson on there. It gives you an alert right on there, and you know to go right to it. We do this at least every week. And let me know in the comments or in the email below, let me know what song you'd like me to try next. I'd love to be able to do something even that I don't know, but you would like to hear. So let me know what song you would like to hear, and maybe next week I'll do the song that you asked for. Okay, so, all right, well, until then, till next week, keep it weird, everybody.